this is the same continuation of the what we call racist, extremist regime, starting from Ne Win up to now. The real agenda of the regime is to build a fourth Burman empire.
Hello and welcome. The recent coup in Burma and arrest of Aung San Suu Kyi took many people by surprise. By this I mean Aung San Suu Kyi had actually been supporting the military for many years, even personally defending them of horrendous crimes, including genocide, in the International Court of Justice. So why then did the Burmese military arrest her? It seems it was a last-ditch effort by Min Aung Hlaing to get the presidency, as his USDP, the military party, did poorly in the elections. International pressure was mounting against the regime, including ongoing genocide charges, and it is recently reported in the media that millions of dollars of George Soros' Open Society money had been given to the NLD. And the Burmese military would most certainly view this as a direct threat. For we must remember that the Burmese military is essentially a giant business empire made up of two corporations, Myanmar Economic Holdings Limited and Myanmar Economic Corporation. The country is basically run by a military mafia with its leaders as the profiteers and the soldiers as its enforcers, its hitmen. The leaders of these two companies, the Burmese Generals, have long been willing to commit genocide against the ethnic nationalities and also kill their own people in order to retain their power and profits. For a deeper examination of the mindset of the Burman Generals and its historical motives, we're going to talk to David Tharckabaw, the former vice president of the Karen National Union, who described to me a few years ago what he calls the Fourth Burman Empire. The general, I think, he said something about in 10 years you're only going to see Karen in the museum.
That was about, let me see, 15, 16 years ago. You know, in the future the Karen will be seen only in the museum, you know. And this same, you know, saying, they repeated against the Kachin people. So their idea is to treat all the non-Burman ethnics as their subjects and try to eliminate them culturally, try to eliminate them even physically. And they want all the lands, the natural resources, above ground, underground. So they are more like a Nazi, you know, expansionist, imperialist regime. The Burman in the dictatorship are like Nazi, you know. They kill their own people. They expand against using war, military imperialism, to take away our natural resources, to enslave us if they cannot eliminate the people physically. Enslavement. What we have, according to their problem, is we become slave, our lands taken away, our resources all taken. So that is unacceptable. They are still living in the time of feudal, you know, feudalism. This kind of regime could have existed, for example, in Europe maybe 500 years ago, Middle Ages, maybe the Dark Ages. It has followed the same agenda of turning the country into what they call the Fourth Burman Empire. That is the real agenda of the past military dictatorship up to the present dictatorship. They don't have the capacity, you know, to totally crush the ethnic people. But if this is going on, you know, internal conflict will bring down this dictatorship. Of course, we must maintain, you know, our self-defense, you know, resistance. The ethnic people will have to maintain their self-defense resistance.
Any message to the Western governments or the media, the Western media? Do they understand? What do they need?
Western media, Western government, they have to understand the history, past history. And I mean, going back 100 years, 200 years, even is necessary. And also not to believe the propaganda of the military regime, of the military-supported regime.
Because the ethnic nationalities, you're not just a couple hundred people. Just and can you describe your population?
Oh,
and also
yes.
what landmass you have, and
Well, all along the Burman in power, they have give a false data regarding population, that the Burman form nearly 70% of the population. But the truth is, the Burman population is only 28% of the entire population. The ethnic altogether form nearly 70% of the population. And one of the causes of Burman racism is due to the belief that they are nearly 70% of the population. And it's on a false data, false propaganda. So they become racist. That's why the civil war has been going on for.
they're talking peace yet carrying out offensives.
Yeah, that is the trick, to isolate a few and wipe out one at a time. For example, that is their dirty strategy, And the ceasefire is just a sham, just a show for the international community. They try to show that they are making effort, for peace. And their actual intention, their goal is to wipe out all the ethnic armed organization. For example, 20 years ago, they isolated the Karen. They make peace with the northern groups and then try to eliminate the KNU for 17 years of war. The Tamador, the Burmese army, probably thought that they could easily wipe out the Kachin, but that didn't happen. Now they make peace with the southern groups and now are trying to eliminate the northern groups, the KIO, the TNLA, and the MNDA, Arakan army also. They try to eliminate, but without success. We lost many ancestral lands by occupation, due to conquest in the old days. In the, for example, 18th century and 19th century, because of demographic change, under the British. And but the ethnic people still control about 60% of the land area.
And is it right to say that the ethnic areas, the Burmese never lived there? Can you?
Well, never lived there. Nowadays, what we have is administrators coming, to administer, to impose the rule, permanent rule over the ethnic people. The constitution also is a very unitary constitution, and they are imposing their rule over the ethnic people wherever they can. Expand its area of control. That is the attempt, because they are fighting, to get more area. Probably they have agreement with business enterprises to get more opportunity for natural resources. including building the dams.
And can you list the offensives, the various ones that are currently going on?
Well, the offensives are going on in the Kachin state against the KIO, and in the Palau area, Palau region, against the Ta'an National Liberation Army, and against the Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army in Kogan area. And there is also a new armed organization known as Arakan Army. It's quite strong. The military is still acting as a state within a state. Constitutionally, they have been given 25% in the parliament, 25% of the seats in the parliament, and they still will hold the three important ministries, which are the Interior Ministry, the Defense Ministry, and Border Affairs Ministry. These ministries have mainly the enforcement agencies.
So it's a form of colonialism in a sense, isn't it? Yeah.
This is colonialism, imperialism, all combined because of racism.
Can you give me some examples of the violations they've been doing? What are refugees in Kachin State, attacks in TNLA, or what?
Yeah, the refugees, just like in Karen State in the past 20 years, there's widespread human rights violations such as killing the suspects, torturing, rape, and murder, and burning down villages, driving the people, to become refugees, or they use them as a forced labor to carry heavy artillery ammunition.
And this is
food, medicine.
the current peace process?
It's happening in the conflict zones, like in the Kachin State, in Palau State, in northern Shan State, where the conflict is ongoing. There is the danger of big power involvement, like in the days of the Cold War, and the proxy war may go on. Ethnics on the one side and the Burman government on the other side. But anyhow, the current people should be prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, to carry on resistance. And it seems it's very likely that we have to carry on the resistance.
So for the resistance in Burma, please stay strong and strive for unity, especially the ethnic nationalities. Follow the example of the Northern Alliance and unite together against the regime. Now is a great opportunity for all Karen groups to come together, including the BGF. So please, Karen leaders, remember the principles of Soba Uji. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned, and we'll try to bring you further information of the ongoing conflict in Burma.
Karen people should be prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, to carry on resistance.